What's up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back, and we are finally here to our first best of 3 of the night. The winners finals, Miss Anna.
Winner final.
I know, it's pretty hype. Because our first best of 3, we're going back to Sky Temple, and Backlash, coming off an enormous win on that map, has got to be feeling good up against the undefeated Nexus Globetrotters.
Nexus Globetrotters. So undefeated in this this series this week, or undefeated before when I wasn't here last week?
I don't actually know if they played last week, to be honest.
Okay.
They were definitely in ESL, and I think they were in Kings of the Storm, and the ESL Community Night. So that was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Now it's Wednesday. But these guys are undefeated in today because they are here into the winners finals. So they haven't lost any of the best of ones, and now we're going to see if they can win themselves the first game of the best of 3. Draft has started, and who do we got up on deck, Miss?
Nexus Globetrotters does not want to play with ETC. They are not a fan of his music, they think it sucks, and they do not want to play with him. While Backlash, for the 3rd time tonight, goes ahead with a Vikings ban. So maybe we're seeing teams afraid of the soaking power and the standing power of Vikings on Sky Temple. What do you think?
There is also definitely a name I recognize here on Nexus Globetrotters. Bella Morte there for the Globetrotters means the Lost Vikings. So,
all right, so definitely a preventative ban.
Right, and I have to assume it was the same last round. Again, also because of the nature of the way that the temples attract players like bees to honey. The soak capability, especially early on for the Vikings, can get you upwards of 2 levels advantage. So not only is this targeted, but once again, it is removing this Vikings from that soak and from that level advantage that they can grab. First pick for the Globes, however, is going to be Stitches.
A familiar face on just about every map. Not a bad pick. Lots of space that he can use that hook in. What do you think? Good pick?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you're going to have yourself a nice frontliner. We might go into a little bit more of a bruiser to go with it with the Tassadar or the Sonya. We just saw the Sonya, I believe, last round, although it didn't actually work by the end of it all. But overall, some good pressure with the hooks. We've seen some fantastic combos. And I think the Globetrotters can really kind of mirror that as well. Vala, first pick here from Backlash, and they are immediately going to go with the Tyrande, with the Owls, with the Lunar Flare. And I'm assuming that that's just really to set up for any kind of double tank setup here that we could go for the Globetrotters, but it's also a great anti-backline with that Flare. So Nazebos with Ravenuses are big targets, Sergeant Hammers are big targets, that kind of deal.
Yeah, and Vala, again, I think the only hero that we have seen in every single game, even more than Stitches. She is really someone that people feel like they need.
She's the wingman.
And now Nexus Globetrotters also picking up Sergeant Hammer, someone we love to see and we've seen a lot of tonight. And we have seen one of these before. It is a Jaina. Now, Jaina on Sky Temple. How do you think that's going to work?
Right now, it's looking okay because we don't have too many ways to deal with the Jaina. But it is Backlash's, big pick here. If you get like a really hard engage or a really hard pick mechanic, you can absolutely destroy a Jaina, and she's just a no factor in a lot of the fights. If you can't get through to that backline, she can be absolutely devastating with the triple spell combos, the Ring of Frost, the Water Elemental. I mean, there's a lot of ways that you could build out the Jaina to complement out a good line. As well, at level 16, I mean, with all that Jaina pressure, all that CC available to her, you could start actually seeing Executioner comps, but right now, you wouldn't go Executioner on the Sergeant Hammer. You'd have to go for the Hover Siege. So we'll have to see who else they actually draft, but a Malfurion to be joining with that Tyrande. We've seen this before.
The Tyrande Malfurion is really working well for people tonight, so it's not a surprise to see them again. And who do you think we're going to see as the next pick? As we already have the double support, we've already got the Assassin. What are we going to see next from Backlash, you think?
I want to say it's either going to be an Uther or a Diablo.
Some tankiness.
The Uther would steal away really one of the only other supports that the Globetrotters could possibly go. It gives them triple support, sure, but it's also a lot of sustain between the 3 of them. If it's going to be a Diablo, then they're taking away any kind of big wombo setup, but plus it's also the other biggest tank that you could put on the front line other than a Stitches. Stitches and Diablo tied for the health scaling, and Diablo does have the Resurgence at max souls ready to go.
Yeah, and that can be really helpful on Sky Temple, certainly as you're dealing with a lot of team fights.
Wow.
But you called that triple support, but it is actually going to be Rhaegar, which is interesting because I would think that Rhaegar might be a little more versatile. Well, I don't know. Uther's versatile too. Why do you think they chose him?
Well, they took the. If they didn't take the Uther, they had to take the Rhaegar if they wanted to deny the double for the Globetrotters. I mean, they got their frontliner and they got their backline. All they need is their support, right? Letting through Uther and Rhaegar was probably going to be a death sentence for them.
Right.
I would have personally taken the Uther from Backlash because you're going to need that stun, I feel. The single target heal, the AoE heal, the stun, and the AoE stun is just a really good anti-initiation and disengage. We've seen it multiple times tonight, but that's just going to leave it to the Globetrotters. I think Globetrotters would have been worse off with the Rhaegar. I think Backlash would have been better off with the Uther. But now, you know, Globetrotters, they got their double damage. Are they going to take a Lily? Are they going to take a Brightwing or the Tassadar? Because the Tassadar is still on the table, and I think he's a fantastic way to go to augment not only the front line, but the heals from the Globetrotters.
Well, so far the Nexus Globetrotters are a blonde-only team, assuming that Stitches is blonde. So
Hammer's not blonde.
Well, yeah, she is.
She has like reddish hair, isn't she?
Strawberry blonde.
Okay, fine. Be that way.
So, you know, that counts out a few of our heroes. In fact, all of them but Nova. So looks like it's going to be a Nova. No, it's not. Just joking. It's actually going to be an Illidan.
Wow. Color me surprised. You don't see Illidan's paired up with Sergeant Hammers a lot in competitive because they kind of have different focuses. But this is a single support to go with not only a double front line, but the double back line.
Interesting. So they're really trying to do a lot of damage very quickly. Man, interesting.
They're going to try to overwhelm. They have a Stitches hook. They're going to try to just grab a hook and overwhelm one of these supports. Absolutely. I mean, the triple support, triple heals, you got to bring the pain. And with that Stitches, they're going to have that pressure. So a Stitches hook into a stun, into Jaina blow up, into Illidan body blocks, you know, you name it. They have the comp now set up for it. And they don't really have too much damage to really worry about, I suppose, from Backlash. I mean, the Val in the back, sure. The Hunter's Mark, sure. Past that, nothing. Because they need a tank, and there it is the Diablo.
Yeah, all right. So the Diablo going to be able to soak things up and definitely going to be staying alive for a long time. But he's kind of a slow guy, and when teamed up on by all of these fresh faces over on Nexus Globetrotters, he's going to have a little bit of a tough time. Interesting matchup. And I don't know, do you think Backlash was a little too defensive with their picks this time, or do you think that they were willing to do a 3 support pick from the start?
The Jaina pick, the Jaina early pick from Nexus Globetrotters is really kind of what forced that decision from Backlash. I guess forced is the wrong word, but they chose to try to disrupt the double support mentality to protect that hammer, to protect this, the Jaina, because they knew they didn't have the Stitches, and there's nobody else that can really... If they're not going to take a melee engage, then they need a Stitches, and since they can't, and they can't Battle Cow, they took the triple support as just a deny pick. I mean, that's really what triggered it. What Nexus Globetrotters might have wanted to do was, instead of the Jaina, they would have wanted to secure the Rhaegar or the Uther earlier. I mean, what are the chances Backlash are going to take a Jaina from them?
Yeah.
So I think it's just really just the way that Globetrotters prioritize that Jaina that really kind of prompted the decision from Backlash.
Very interesting. And we're going to see how these interact on Sky Temple, which again involves these temples that are going to spawn at various intervals throughout the game. And teams are going to be able to fight the mercenaries that are guarding them and use those temples to do lots of damage to their opponents' buildings. Now, knowing that we're going to see a lot of team fighting, what are these teams going to have to keep in mind in terms of positioning?
Well, Backlash doesn't want to get hooked.
Yeah. Who does that?
They're going to have to be very mindful of that, at the very least. Nexus Globetrotters, though, they don't want to get womboed down. I mean, they got the overpower into the Tyrande stun, into the roots. So if Jaina or Sergeant Hammer gets caught by that, and there's not an Uther around, could be a kill very easily. So it really comes down to our tank initiations.
Man, and we did see last game how quickly the tides can turn. This is what would be traditionally accepted as a snowbally map, but that's because when a team has an advantage and they choose to press that advantage, it usually goes well for them, although there are tons of opportunities to be very cheeky and steal that advantage away. In the last game, we saw Backlash actually come in and steal a very crucial boss right at the end, which ultimately won them the game. So we may see some stuff like that again.
Well, no matter what we're going to see it with these teams. Backlash on blue, the team that we've now covered 3 games in a row, and we're guaranteed at least one more. Baby Nova, they're up in the top. Wadrafruk, Sky, Mordecai, I'm just calling him Mordecai, and Disclaimer going to be making up your team that's on a roll. But these guys came up pretty strong and pretty quick into the winners. Who is Red?
Red is going to be made up of Keefers on Stitches, Anxiety, Lull on, who is that, Jaina?
Yep.
Cossacks on Sergeant Hammer, and where did our other friend go? They're all splitting up.
Illidan bottom.
Teebs on Uther, and of course Bella Morte on Illidan.
Right.
We had a 4-man squad up there hoping to get a gank, but then they split up in the middle of my naming them. Now we've got Bella Morte here in the bottom. We've got 3 in mid. And just 1.
Wow. So, I mean, this is a little bit of an extended fight here in the mid as both of the supports just trying to do the best that they can. But the Jaina Sergeant Hammer combo are going to come out ahead with 2 kills to 1 as not only Tyrande going down, but the Lord of Terror as well. So, really early engaged into that mid, and you don't really see too many teams actually putting 3 mid, but it worked out great for the Globetrotters. And at this point, you might be a little curious about the lanes. You know, Illidan into the bottom up against the Rhaegar. Rhaegar's going to be okay. Shouldn't actually lose out that lane, but neither will Bella Morte. But putting Cossacks here in the mid means he can easily just either push down, go to the mid tempo, or go straight to the top if he really needs to without needing to travel a heck of a long way.
Nexus Globetrotters, having only 1 support, is going to have to be really mindful of where Uther is. If Uther dies, do you think they still have enough stick-to-itiveness to be able to continue the team fight, or are we going to see them disengage if Uther gets focused down?
If Uther dies, there's no way that Red can win a sustained fight. 3 healers against 0? That won't happen. So it's almost like you have to protect the teams in this game.
Yeah.
Not protect the hammer, but you know, Wadrafruki's really gonna try to get that Keepers, and I don't really know why. Anxiety Lodge is exposed to the back line. Diablo will go down. Here comes the hook though. Baby Nova's gonna be the big target. Bella Morte looking for the body blocks, and there goes the Rhaegar. There is a lot of damage on the team of the Globetrotters, which is why they took the Odin, which is why they took the Jaina. 3 supports won't matter if one of them's always dead.
I would like to point out as well that Bella Morte is wearing a blonde Illidan skin, so it is Team Blonde.
You call Stitches blonde?
I mean, he would be if he had hair, probably. I can imagine it.
I don't have an answer to that. Absolutely
All right.
don't have an answer to that.
So now that I've been distracted by that long enough, we do have the Nexus Globetrotters taking control of this top shrine, although it did belong to Backlash very briefly. And of course, the mid shrine has already done its duty. How are we looking after that initial temple run?
Well, it's majority going to be on Red. You already see the push, very devastating right through the mid. Sergeant Hammer was able to rotate down and just finish up all the rest of that. Keepers is going to be a big target here, but unfortunately, the roots just miss. And Keepers is going to live to walk another day. But Cossacks, you know, he pushed out the mid, going immediately a huge advantage to the Nexus Globetrotters. And Globetrotters won out the top and took his top fort area as well. So they come out, you know, on paper 2 levels ahead, pretty much.
It's interesting on this map particularly because staying alive is not going to do enough for you when using the objectives can do so much damage. So staying alive is going to be really important if they can stand on the right temples and stay alive. But so far they haven't been able to do that, and they're getting punished because of the amount of damage that Nexus Globetrotters can do.
a lot of the credit has to really go towards the Stitches, because the Stitches is getting hook after hook. It's putting them out of position. As I said, triple healer is great, but if you burst down one of them, you're looking at a 4v5 and you're missing another healer. Just like that weakens your line overall. We haven't been making the best in terms of the Diablo picks. I mean, it is 4-1 right now and counting. Nobody seemed to be really caring about this lone siege tank by herself, pushing out the mid, pushing out the bottom. And we're looking at level 10 by the next temple.
And there's very, very minimal damage done to any of the Nexus Globetrotters structures. As you can see, a lot is falling on the side of Backlash. So they're really going to have to be mindful of not only defending, but making sure that they're doing some damage in return, because if they don't, they're just going to be alive in an empty base.
Cossack's actually deciding to take Resistant at level 1. It's not going to be really a talent that you're going to see a lot of use for until 16, where you get Hover Siege. Then it will shine. But I'm a little curious that he's actually, like, what is he afraid of? The Apocalypse combo, I suppose? I don't know. I don't really think we needed to go Resistant level 1, but we'll find out if we actually get to 16 to see that. So just like last time, Backlash not deciding to actually do anything about that bottom. They instead are going to be pushing out top, but they don't have bruisers this time. So I'm not entirely too sure that they're going to be able to outpace the tempo plus the hammer for this siege damage.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing a matching push top and bottom, although we've got all 5 of Backlash attacking the top, and Bella Morte, Illidan from Nexus Globetrotters is the only person here to defend and not doing much in the way of defending. Although that does put the Nexus Globetrotters in really good position to grab this bottom temple, which is just now spawning, and Backlash, unfortunately, is far, far away.
So Backlash get themselves that top fort. Congratulations. That'll put them very close to 10, which is what they need if they want to contest anything with a fight. They cannot go into this next fight without heroics. Absolutely not. But unfortunately, that they traded out, and now they're about to lose out this mid fort as well, and that's going to start working on this top one to boot. We're almost going to be 13-10 by the time we actually do get to a fight, but we do now have heroics for Backlash, but they're still 2.5 levels down.
2.5 levels is quite a lot on Sky Temple, although it is not insurmountable, as we saw in the last game where Backlash was again behind 2 levels and did end up winning the game by very little, but they did it.
It's gonna be a lightning breath, boys. So lightning breath, Wadrifrock going to be coming out pretty big here. They need the damage, to be honest, but this is going to hurt any kind of big wombo setup that the team is looking for. They literally just now have to rely on Tyrande and the roots, but Keepers has tried to do the best that he can here for the kiting, and then the hook. Disclaimer is not going to live through that. Stun, lock up on top of Mordecai. Wadrifrock is getting off the lightning breath, and a really good one to boot. Keepers is going to drop because the combo with that and the Starfall is just too much damage, it seems, for the Stitches. But there goes the Diablo as well. And despite being down 2 levels, it was a 2-for-2 trade.
Very interesting. We saw the Uther go down, and as we had mentioned before, Nexus Globetrotters is in a lot of danger once Uther does go down, but they were able to stick to it, due probably largely to the amount of damage that they're able to do, as they are in fact 2 levels ahead.
So level 13 talent hype is pretty good. I mean, the Nexus Globetrotters are still very much in command of this game. They are up 1 fort. I didn't actually see this. Malfurion took Mule for his level 7, so the Mule is actually starting to work away at that top fort. And Mule on this map, if you have to get Mule on any map, this is definitely the map to get it on, because the temples can't actually do anything against a Mule. So you can actually extend the lifetime cycle of your buildings a good bit with some really good timings.
Absolutely. We see Caustics and Teebs heading bottom. Their teammates Anxiety, Lull, and Kiefers are getting these Siege Giants, making sure that they're positioning themselves well to have people pushing for them as these 2 temples spawn, the Snake Temple and the Jackal Temple, mid and bottom.
Oh, I didn't know you could actually mouse over those.
I just figured it out.
Top one is apparently Crocodile. I guess that makes sense. I'm looking at the art now. Yeah. We do have 13 here from Backlash, so they are enabled for a fight. They don't really look super confident about it. They have all their cooldowns up, but so does the enemy team. If Keepers get the hook on top of that Malfurion, that could be it for him, because he doesn't have Ice Block. He went Life Seed again. There's the Lunar Blaze, though, from Tyrande. So the Lunar Blaze, increases the range, increases the impact area. She did take Pierce, though. I'm a little concerned about the level 16 talent going to be the Owl, but we'll see. Keepers is going to be the big lockup here. Not really going anywhere with that Bile, but the Lightning Breath is pretty good. Stitches is going to go down. Teeb's going to get focused down now as well. Bella Morte on the wrong side of this one, and the sustain difference between the two teams is very evident on that fight.
That is the first time we are seeing what this triple support is really capable of, where you thought, oh, they are most certainly dead, and then all of a sudden, poof, they're all very healthy, and the Nexus Globetrotters are not. So we see 3 go down for the Nexus Globetrotters. They were able to finish out that middle shrine, and now they're freed up to go for that bottom shrine uncontested, or bottom temple, excuse me. And that was a really interesting choice on their behalf, because when I saw them not being willing to engage on that middle temple, I was like, hey, well, why aren't you going for the bottom? Why don't you grab that while you have some time and they're distracted? Good choice on their behalf not to, because they are definitely going to come out ahead on that trade, and they have just now tied up levels.
Kiefer's in that fight was pretty much useless. I mean, he got rooted as he used out the Wretched Bile, which means it didn't spread. He was only able to really knock around Diablo, not the targets that he wants to be knocking around at all. There's no hooks whatsoever. And the Lightning Breath basically just took him down to dead. So it was not really much of a 5-on-5. It was very much a nice control fight from Backlash. They really are playing to their strengths now that they got their 13 talents. We'll have to see what is going to be the case for 16. Will it be the Sentinel or will it be the Shooting Star for Tyrande? That's the big question for me. But, I mean, Diablo with that Lightning Breath was such a good pick.
Neither team really looking to engage right now. They're very much dancing around each other, so I'm wondering if both of them are not sure how the trade-off will go. But it looks like both of them trying to take what advantages they have, and now Nexus Globetrotters looks like they'd really like to take a boss. But like you said, sometimes when you start a boss, it's not very likely that you get to keep it.
Yeah,
so we do see Rhaegar coming.
Yeah, I think they're okay this round. They saw the majority of the team up into that top. They're not going to be here in time. Disclaimer can't get on it.
It was close.
Disclaimer actually is going to be super far forward and gets stunned and damaged out. I mean, that is what this comp is supposed to do. It is supposed to have damage the sustain, and they immediately take out the Rhaegar. They take out the Diablo, robbing him of 100 souls. Or, well, I think 150. Yeah, Endless Death at level 7. So he gets 50 souls back, but he lost out. It's going to be his resurgence, and this is a really good map position for the Globetrotters because they got the boss pushing bottom and they're pushing mid.
Rhaegar really wanted to steal that boss, but was just a few seconds too far ahead of his team, and he had the support that he needed to grab that backlash. He knows how it feels to steal the boss, and that time they did not.
Oh, wow.
Herbert fighting, and we were already melting. This is not selfish news for the next Globetrotter team.
Yeah, the Uther went down, but just so much was put into trying to kill out Malfurion, and they didn't get it by the end of it all. He was able to fully heal right back into it. The fact that Diablo is still up because of that 5 seconds, because of that passive, that was really the only reason that Backlash was able to kind of survive through that. Kiefer's got off the hook. It saves out Bella Morte, but they are repulsed, and temples are up.
And we're going to see top and bottom temples going. We already have Baby Nova, Vala up here on the top, gathering all those delicious lasers for her own use. The next Globetrotters are going to grab the bottom. Looks like not too much contesting from Backlash. They're going to let them have that bottom temple while they're busy getting their bruisers.
Okay. Now, the trade-off is that we got keep damage. That's for sure a keep. There's going to be bottom keep going down, whereas we just started on the gates to the top keep from Backlash. So in terms of the overall pressure, it's a better trade for the Globetrotters to just trade out 1-for-1. The rest of Backlash here, they're going to be cleaning up these mercs. They also have their top bruisers pushing down, so that can't go uncontested, I don't think, from Nexus if they don't want to. If they want to avoid keep damage, they have to go and contest that. But at the same time, this is where we need to, force a fight from Backlash.
Yeah, Nexus Globetrotters definitely looking a little bit cautious as they had everyone together there at that bottom temple. Backlash being a little bit more brazen, having some people spread out over the map, doing a few different things. And now Nexus Globetrotters will run back and defend from that push that was coming top from Backlash.
The Backlash, they got the levels on parity. It's not that big a difference anymore. They were down 2 levels. They've really brought it back. But they weren't able to nurture out these bruisers. They weren't able to actually grab a fight when they needed to. So that push is basically now dead in the water. And they have lost out a keep, which means this bottom lane is going to continually push in against them. These bottom stone throwers that they were able to secure are likely not even to make it to the gate. So everyone's just going to kind of bounce off each other, look for 20, and we're going to see what kind of tempo pressure we can gather from each side now.
Nexus Globetrotters really looking like they'd like to grab those bruisers, but being very aware that Backlash is stalking them, trying to get in good position for a team fight. Both teams looking like they only want to engage if they're in perfect position, which is probably why they have ended up here in this level of the winter final. And they pull out Illidan, but he is luckily able to parkour his way out of danger.
Yeah, but that's a Metamorphosis down for, I want to say, 60 seconds or so. 120 seconds.
Yikes.
Not 60.
Well, at least he's alive.
There is for sure going to be tempos in the next 2 minutes, and that's going to be a fight where there's no Metamorphosis. Illidan has to start auto-attacking something. Oh my god, that hook.
Wow, and Vala is gone.
That was a Vala. Never mind. It looks like they're going to be okay. Velamorte can just auto-attack his way to get his ult back in pretty decent condition. And he is going to stay up here to get that cooldown back. And temples are up, and Vala's dead for 30. Backlash, for sure, is on the back foot now.
Backlash saying, okay, what can we do to actually give ourselves any kind of advantage? They're deciding that pushing bottom is the best thing to do. And like you said, down there in the bottom lane, there is an opening that they can exploit. Although making this temple uncontested may be a questionable decision, especially as we see the Nexus Globetrotters sending 3 players back to defend. Looks like the trade is not going to be great for Backlash.
Backlash is just trying to mitigate as much as they can. I mean, they pulled everyone off these temples. Velamorte is still down here just being annoying, but it's stopping the Diablo from mounting. Like, we just need to abandon the Diablo at this point. Like, just run for it, guys. You are not getting away from an Illidan with a team coming at his back with mounts. They're going to just keep this slow backing, but there goes the Malfurion. Out comes the Lightning Breath. Keepers was going to drop Disclaimer there with the Fight Dog, was able to actually finish it off. And, well, I mean, it will be a 4-4. The Uther goes out, but there goes the Vala. Vala literally got up, walked down, and died. Velamorte is going to try to get out of this one, and now I have the tables turned as the Illidan is going to go back in. All right, brave man. He's going to do the body blocks. Classics here is going to do the damage. They got Anxiety Law on the back of it as well, but they still got 2 healers up, and it looks like that's going to be the end of that.
Very interesting fight. Could have swung both ways. I thought that we were seeing the dominance of some damage going down, but in fact, we're seeing that the sustain is huge for Backlash, allowing them to make sure that they stay in the game. Although the momentum is on the side of the Nexus Globetrotters, and they do grab that temple, which they had been waiting, they had marked as their own, and now they are using to its fullest extent.
I will give Backlash the credit. They staggered back just enough to get the Vala in, and they were able to trade out evenly again. So instead of giving up on the Diablo, they were able to actually just measure the pace out and keep him up in time for the Vala to get there. Problem is that, you know, they only did trade out, and Vala didn't really get a lot of the spotlight. But I will give them the credit for that one. I didn't expect them to actually trade out that well.
And, you know, they are not that far behind in levels. They're about to hit 20, maybe about a level behind, but as long as they grab that 20, then they'll be a little more confident to engage in team fights. Although we do see that the Nexus Globetrotters are grabbing the boss. And, oh, no, just kidding. They decided they didn't want that as they see Backlash coming down, and they do not want to be stolen from. Ooh, they're hiding. Do you think they're looking for an ambush here?
Yeah, absolutely. The problem is that there's owls. Owls finds everybody. Just like, hello. All right.
Hiya.
That is that. Level 20 each side, Anna. This is still a very close game. I mean, despite that really early game advantage from Globetrotters, they're having a heck of a time with this late game.
Yeah, really interesting how different the strengths of these teams are and how evenly they're trading. I expected that one would very clearly be dominant, and that definitely hasn't been the case.
The triple support is real. If you get triple support, you should always go triple support.
I guess so. Now they're looking to fight here in the bottom lane. Caustic is going siege, but can move in that siege sub tank now, which is definitely a benefit on this map.
Yep.
Keeper's trying to grab that hook and killing Malfurion. This is down, and that is a huge advantage for Globetrotters.
Wow, that lightning breath is immense. Is it actually going to kill out Anxiety? So very close. And the Owl Mist on the back of it as well. Despite the fact that the Malfurion is basically insta-died, we are still trading out supremely well here from Backlash.
That Jaina is breathing heavily and saying thanks to whatever god she prays to for getting away from that lightning breath. The flames were licking her at the threshold of death's door, and she was able to get out. So 1-for-1 trade again.
The damage numbers going back and forth. Tyrande is up to 44k. Diablo 33, the Vala 37. It's not even Vala top damage. It's Tyrande. Flip side, it's the hammer, and then even after that, the Illidan is still outpacing the Jaina, and the Jaina is almost even losing to the Stitches. I mean, for a big damage comp from the Globetrotters, not really making much of the mark as you would have expected. They have much higher overall, but then again, much higher overall healing from Backlash. 47k, 33k, 20k. It's really hard to kind of burst all this down. Even bursting down with some of these healers, like that lightning breath is immense. So much damage there.
Yeah, we definitely saw that being the case. It looks like Nexus Globetrotters are going to go for this middle shrine or middle temple, forcing Backlash to give up the advantage they had at the top temple to come try and defend. They do not want their opponents to have dominance over that one. And it looks like Backlash is going to take control of that temple for a little while, and Nexus Globetrotters is going to grab the top. So it is a tug of war happening right now.
It's the fact, it's just, yeah, there it is. It was just so close to getting that keep. They just needed to get a few more shots, and it looks like they're able to get it. Keepers gets overpowered, but he's not going to go down. Not today. The regenerative file, the hardened shield is just too strong. That 75% damage reduction was allowing him to survive that burst. He gets out. The temples are still going back and forth, but we got a naked core here from Backlash. If we get a team fight from Nexus Globetrotters, that's game.
And Nexus Globetrotters just taking every step they can over those temples because they know the more shots from the temples, the closer they will get to bringing down, as you said, that naked core. Really does want to put some clothes on right now.
Oh, wow. That Hurricane from T is really good. Bella Morte coming in from the side. Wadra Frog is going to take home Uther. And the Lightning Breath even going to be tickling away there at Bella Morte. So we're still having a heck of a time dealing with this Diablo and triples. And that's not the retreat, but that's going to be the advance. We got catapults on core. Core is ready to burst. And I don't think the Backlash know that it's so low.
Yeah, they're definitely just now noticing and backing as fast as they can, but will they be able to stop Cossacks, who is sieged up and doing all sorts of damage to the core, and have Anxiety and Keepers distracting them, but they are recognizing that Sergeant Hammer is going to be the problem. Too late. Unfortunately for Backlash, Nexus Globetrotters know when it is time to strike and win the game.
They saw the catapults on the core. It was at 77% or so. They had just enough of those tower shots to whittle away at the shield, and it's going to be a very nice win here from the Globetrotters. They don't defeat the triple support through fighting, but they did use the objectives very smartly. They were able to ping pong there at the end. As he said, they were just trading off. That was enough to get down that keep, which led us into 3 separate lanes of catapults, and that's game. So
really, really interesting to see these team compositions play each other. I think that's one of the things that I love so much about Heroes of the Storm is that there is no established way to do anything necessarily. If you want to grab 3 supports, you can fight against that much damage. If you don't want to have that many supports, you probably don't have to. You've just got to be creative with your strategies. Both these teams were very diligent and responsible with the strategies they chose. Ultimately, Nexus Globetrotters will advance.
Well, perhaps it's a best of 3.
That's right. That's right, Forecourt Jester.
I know. Why they pay me the big bucks. Yes. Keep them amateur casters in line.
Yeah, that's me.
No worries. It's all fun. All good in the hood, but other things I should never say. But yeah, we're going to go to game number 2, and we will return with a new map and the same teams. See you guys in a few minutes.